Let's go now to Tammie Souza. She is standing by our chief meteorologist to talk about what we're expecting here. Where is this tornado warning?
This tornado warning is on that storm that I showed you that was coming out of the northwestern part of Bucks County. Not Bucks County, I'm sorry, that's the other warning. This is Berks County, northwestern Berks County, up just adjacent to the Lehigh Valley. You see this box shaded in red. We have a storm that is now headed this way. We also have heavy rains. We've got three things going: severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, and we have a flash flood warning going. Now, this storm is going to be moving through Pottstown at 6, Bern at 5:19, Reading at 5:28, Exeter at 5:37, and Birdsboro at 5:44. If you're in the path of this there in northwestern portion of Berks County, you need to take shelter right away. These storms have damaging winds, 60-mile-an-hour plus winds, and this has been a radar indicated tornado. You can see this box right here in red. I'm going to step off just a second because I'm going to kind of work the controls from the sidelines. I want to make sure that you're able to actually see everything that's going on right here. So here you can see the storm itself, and you can kind of get a pretty good idea of what's going on with the storm. The tornado warning is until 5:30. I'm going to go ahead and put this into motion so that way then you'll have an idea of what's going on for all of you up there in Berks County. And this is just the last 15 minutes. So you can see this storm as it's headed in your direction, and you can see headed toward Reading is where we are looking at the biggest concern. There's a little bit of a notch right there, and you can see it. I'm going to hop back up here on the screen for you, and you can see this little bit of a notch that's just right in here. So we're watching this storm right here as it moves. It's going to be heading again through Reading, and it will eventually be heading toward all of you in Pottstown. So you need to seek shelter if you're in the path of this particular storm. This is what we're very concerned about. So if you're back in Burnville, this isn't going to be as big a deal because you're behind the storm. But this is where it's headed. It's headed down toward Reading. And thank you, Glenn. Glenn is driving the radar for me here so we can kind of get a good idea of what's going on. So this is where it's going. If you are in Cumru, if you're in Reading, if you're in Birdsboro, this is going to be headed in your direction. And right now in Muhlenberg, we are watching. This is the little area where there's a little bit of a notch. So this is radar indicated rotation that's going to be moving in our direction. So Reading, I think you're right in the middle of this entire thing. Let's take a little bit of a wider shot so we can show people kind of where this entire thing is to give them perspective to it. And this is where you can get a good idea of this box, which has been drawn in right here. That's where we're most concerned. Now let's take the very wide view because we have some other storms that are going on that we need people to be very aware of. We have the tornado warning here. If you get down in here into lower portions of Montgomery County and into Bucks County, we did have severe thunderstorm warnings going there. I believe those have actually expired. I'm not seeing them anymore. But is this storm right here that we are most concerned about, the one that is headed right through Reading? So let's go ahead. Let's put up the towns if we can. We're going to go ahead and stick a cone back up on that, do a little bit of tracking so that we can see exactly where it's going. It's going to be headed from Reading toward Pottstown. So this is the area that you have to be most concerned about. The storm will actually go on past those areas. It's just hard to tell if that storm will still have the threat of perhaps a tornado with it. So 5:43 in Reading, Pottstown at 6:14, and Limerick at 6:27. We are going to be looking at perhaps Norristown at 6:50. So this is moving now off to the east, southeast, and these storms are moving at about 30 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and let's take this down so that we can show people the storm itself and get rid of that track if we can, Glenn. That way we can let people know we have a severe thunderstorm watch for the entire area right now. That's what you see, the light shades of yellow. So any storm could pop up, and you can see the bright red box here. That is the tornado warning. It's taking up a big chunk of real estate in Berks County, and it is moving to the east and southeast. Right there you can see it's moving from Reading, and now we also have a severe thunderstorm warning going down in parts of Chester County and into Delaware County, and that's going to be headed toward Philadelphia. That's this big gold box that you see here. So we have a storm that is now, the threat with this is 60-mile-an-hour winds and larger than quarter-size hail. So that's what we're watching here. And that includes East Whiteland. This is that storm that we were looking at that is going to be moving past Bensalem, that's moving from Abington. It's leaving southern Montgomery County, moving into Bucks County. This is another severe thunderstorm warning, and this one is in effect till 5:30. So you can see those storms. We want you to be aware of that. These are dangerous storms. Take shelter, go inside, get away from the windows. stay on the lowest level of your house. If you have a basement, perhaps you might want to go there because they can produce hail and damaging winds that could bring down trees. We're going to go back here now to the storm with the biggest threat, which is the tornado warning that's on this storm that is moving through parts of Berks County. And you can see it now. It's moving toward Redding. So for all of you in Redding, you need to seek shelter. Maiden Creek, you're also on the north edge of this storm, and it's headed towards Birdsboro. But right in here, this is the area that we're most concerned with this storm. You can see it as it kind of curls around to the back. And these storms are storms that are producing intense lightning, extremely heavy rain, and the damaging winds. So this is a radar indicated tornado. We don't have any confirmation on the ground. Glenn, have you gotten any information on it yet? Any details on it? No, nothing so far. If you have, we don't want you to take pictures. We want you to be in your house. We want you to be safe. And kids, if you're home, mom and dad aren't around, you do not go outside. You just stay where you are, middle of the lowest level of your house. Get in the basement if you've got one, and wait till this gets by. Then you can go outside when it's safe. Take pictures. Tell us what you heard. Tell us what you saw. But we don't want you outside right now taking pictures or video as this storm goes by. It may or may not produce a tornado on the ground, but this is something that we are very concerned with because right here, Glenn, can we go ahead and just turn off the radar so that we can show people what's going on? I just want to show them where the box is. So you can see the box is now extending. They've kind of moved it out a little bit. Birdsboro, right to the edge of Pottstown, Redding, Ole. If you're in Moynton, you're right on the southern edge of it. Maiden Creek, you're on the northern edge of it. And this is now moving to the east at about 30 miles an hour. So we are continuing to watch this move very, very quickly through the area. And this is something that we are going to be watching and monitoring, watching where it goes. I'm going to go ahead and put this on a little bit wider view because I want you to see exactly what's going on. This is the storm that's down towards Bensalem and Northampton and headed toward Trenton. This one has intense lightning and damaging winds associated with it. This is the entire picture of the area. I'll go ahead and loop that, and all of you at home will get a pretty good idea of what's going on because what we're seeing is this line of very strong storms moving off to the east and southeast at about 30 miles an hour. These storms are generally producing heavy rain, damaging winds, and small hail to about quarter size, 1-inch hail. But the biggest threat right now, as we've just shown you, is this tornado warning that we have up here in Berks County. Glenn, you're up at the wall right now. Why don't we take a look at what's going on up there in Berks County so that we can get an idea of what's going on with this tornado warning. Let's go ahead and swap it over. Let's put it on to max 2 if we can do that, please, so that I can go ahead and put up what Glenn needs.
All right. Well, you can see we've added the lightning. And so sometimes the storm that has the greatest amount of lightning, the greatest concentration of lightning, is the one that's the most severe. And just eyeballing it, you would go right toward Redding and see that. And that's what we're seeing right now as we see this storm continue to move in through Berks County, and that tornado warning is in effect. Now, tornadoes in this part of the country do not tend to travel a long distance. So this is just a precautionary to go all the way to the edge of this warning. It's right near the beginning of it where they would first see the rotation on the radar that you would be most concerned. So at 5:53 at Redding, 6:02 at Exeter. Now, for it to last as long as to 6:25 to go to Pottstown would be an extremely rare thing. But in Berks County and in Chester County, for example, those are the counties that have the greatest frequency of tornadoes of any part of our area. And it's in an area, the farther west you go in Pennsylvania, the greater the historical risk of tornadoes. Now, we have these other boxes. All of these are severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, there's one in Delaware going into central Kent County. This one is in Chester County going into Delaware County. This one is in Montgomery going into Bucks. And then we also have some in North Jersey. We outline the ones that with the tornado tornado warnings in red to distinguish them from the regular severe thunderstorm warnings. But even a severe thunderstorm warning is capable of producing damage, and sometimes the so-called weaker type tornadoes, called the EF0 on the scale of 0 to 5, that can cause less damage sometimes than a really strong tornado or a strong thunderstorm that we've seen gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour. Now, this is in Berks County. The most populated part of the county, of course, is in Redding itself, and the timing again takes it to 6:53. And if it maintains its intensity, if it maintains the circulation, they would continue the tornado warning. If for some reason the circulation stops on the radar, then they might cancel the tornado warning or just change it into a severe thunderstorm warning. They're also looking for what we call ground truth. Is anybody at the ground reporting an actual tornado or damage, anything hitting, reaching the ground? So as we get into a more populated area, you would expect that somebody would be seeing this thing. And of course, in today's world, very often you get people with their cameras taking pictures of it.
All right, Glenn, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put this into motion for you because I'm over here running the radar, and this gives people a good idea of the direction and how these are actually popping up and filling in so quickly. They're not diminishing. They are intensifying as they head into South Jersey. We have a lot of people out there on the beaches, and that's going to be a big concern a little bit later on. But we still have that tornado warning going up to the north. Now it has peeled off a little bit. Redding is just on the edge of it. But this is something that we're watching pretty closely. And so far, Erica Martin has been monitoring any of the damage reports, and we do not have any damage reports yet. But
now, this is moving at 30 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, this is going at about 30 miles an hour, and it is headed off to the east and the southeast. So even though Pottstown is outside of that, the storm is headed towards Pottstown.
Right. We have to get it past Redding first. I mean, that's obviously the biggest, closest target, potential target for this thunderstorm. And the timing, again, would be around 5:40. As it gets closer, if you would see some sort of circulation, you could see the clouds spinning, perhaps up in the clouds, but if you have mountains or you have trees or houses blocking the bottom, you can't necessarily tell that it's an actual tornado or if it's just a funnel cloud. What has happened, the National Weather Service has their radars and they're looking into the cloud and they're seeing a circulation in the cloud. And just in case that circulation makes its way down to the ground, that is the reason for the tornado warning. It was not issued because somebody actually saw one on the ground itself. So they put out the tornado warning as a precaution because you see that circulation in the cloud with the radar itself. Tammie?
Glenn, this is something that we're watching. I'm over here in the Weather Center, and what we're taking a look at is we're looking for damage. We don't have a lot of damage reported. In some of the counties to the west of the Philadelphia area, we had some trees reported down, and that's what these will do. But let's go ahead and go back to the radar right now. What I want to do is focus on right where we have that tornado warning, because one thing sometimes you see with these tornado warnings is sometimes you will see hail. And what we have there clearly is a hail track. So, you know, we have some hail that's being reported. This hail may be up to an inch or larger in size, and that is something to be very concerned about. I'll go ahead and loop the last 30 minutes, and you can see that hail as it comes out of Strausstown and toward Redding. Now, this is going to continue on, and we have hail across the entire area. So, you know what? You want to get inside a building. You want to make sure that you're on the lowest level. You want to make sure you're away from the windows. You do not want to go outside and look to see if you can see any possible tornado. And we both know that's just just storm 101. But we have the hail. I'm also going to turn on the lightning, and we have a lot of intense lightning with this. So that's another danger outside. We're probably going to have a lot of lightning strikes, a lot of shaking houses. And I would imagine if this is presenting those 60-mile-an-hour winds as it goes by at 30 miles an hour, we may get reports of trees and power lines down. So this is something to be very, very concerned about. Glenn, I'm going to widen it out because we also have several other things to be concerned about. We have several other severe thunderstorm warnings. That is not the only severe thunderstorm warning that we have across the area. Right here, you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on. We have the tornado warning up there in Berks County. And then, Glenn, that darker red, that is the flash flood warning, correct? That covers all of Berks County and part of the Lehigh Valley?
Right. The bright red is a tornado warning. The deeper red, burgundy type color, that is a flash flood warning that now covers the entire county of Berks County and going into a portion of Lehigh County in closer to Allentown. The other areas that are shaded in the darker yellow, those are the severe thunderstorm warnings that you're seeing. There it is, the tornado warning from Reading down toward Pottstown, and the rest of the county in for the flash flood warning. You can see on the radar there is just so much activity, and the intensity of this rain is just so impressive that when you have the storms going over the same spot over and over again, which is what we were showing during the 4 o'clock hour, that's where you can end up with the flooding. You've got some parts of the area haven't seen a drop of rain, and yet other places continue to see some of these heavy downpours, like in Reading and other parts of Berks County. Now, you can also see some areas where you have less of the return. Tammie is circling the potential area where there might be some circulation. Now, one of the problems with Berks County specifically is that these radars that the National Weather Service uses to look at these storms and as the basis for this particular warning, this is pretty far away from any individual radar. And what happens is that the beam from the radar shoots up a little bit. And the farther away you are from the radar, the higher up into the cloud that radar hits. So the radar is able to see the circulation in the cloud, but several thousand feet above the ground. If the radar was closer to Berks County, it would be more likely to be detecting whether that circulation is close to the ground or not. Now we're looking at the velocity mode on the radar. Now, Doppler radar is able to detect wind. It's not just to see where it's raining. And you can see the core of this storm just to the north and east of Reading. That's where the strongest returns are. And what radar is looking for is the red and the green kind of next to each other, in what we call a couplet. It would be a small area of red versus green where one of the directions would be going toward the radar, one would be going away from the radar, and so that's where you would imply circulation. Now, sometimes the circulations are stronger than others, and you can't necessarily exactly predict that, oh yes, this would be a weak one, or this would be an EF3 or 2. You can't determine the intensity of any kind of a tornado based on these colors, but you can get an idea of the likelihood that there is something going on, and you can also track it as you look minute by minute at this thing, whether that couplet is strengthening or weakening. So are you seeing this barely seeing a circulation and having it increase, or are you seeing it decrease as we go through time. Now, sometimes, of course, in this part of the country, it's not like the Midwest where you see these tornadoes 20 miles away. You've got hills in that area, you got houses, you got loads of trees, and the other thing you have is lots of rain, which reduces the visibility. So that makes it harder to see. And sometimes, even if you're a couple of miles away, you can't necessarily see that tornado or the funnel actually reaching the ground. Tammie, what?
Yeah,
we're looking at the velocity?
We were looking at the velocity to see if we had a couplet there, and right now we're basically trying to kind of go in a little bit tighter to that particular storm and see if we see anything. It does look to me like it is diminishing, which is good news. It doesn't look like it is continuing along on the same track that it was once on. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can't maybe perhaps look a little bit closer at all of these storms. We'll go ahead and we'll pop back out and see if we can get a good idea of what's going on with this particular storm. And here you go. You can actually get a good idea of what's going on. It is now beginning to sag through Berks County. So that's the one thing that this is all sort of falling apart and congealing together. And when that happens, then you usually end up with a big rainmaker. But we're still seeing very clearly what could be some sort of an area in here that we would be watching very closely, where you might have some sort of a couplet. It's very hard to tell because this is it's a huge mass of rain, and when you have that, you're not having those classic looking storms that you actually see a pendant or a hook. So you would want to look for any place that you might see some rotation that's going on in that particular area. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm gonna zoom this out so we can get a little bit wider view of the entire area. Again, we have flash flood watches going. We have a flash flood watch stretching from Trenton all the way over to the Jersey Shore. That's this burgundy red. We do have the bright red. Now, this has moved into upper Montgomery County. So we're going to go ahead and revisit this tornado warning, which is now continuing on, and it's now going to be moved into Montgomery County. And let's just see what time that this is extended to 6:15 p.m. on this particular storm. So this severe thunderstorm is moving through here. The tornado warning is now for southeastern Berks County. You want to go on TV? And it basically is stretching. If you want to hop on into the weather monitor, Glenn, you can kind of walk people through where this is going next. We are looking at Limerick. We're looking at Pottstown. We're looking at Reading. Reading at 5:43. So anybody that is in the path of this cone that I just drew, you absolutely have to seek shelter. You've got to get inside a sturdy building. You need to stay away from the windows and get on the lower floor, because that's what's important. Glenn, do you want to walk everybody through where this is?
All right, Tammie, we have seen damage with the storm that has produced this, what we call upstream, before the storm got into Berks County. And we have gotten reports, and the National Weather Service has gotten reports of some wind damage across parts of the area. This is trees downed and snapped along Ridge Road. This is in West Beaver. This is in the county north and west of Berks. So
So what we're going to do now is we're going to continue to follow this. And you know what? You want to make sure to download our app. We need to wrap up because we now have to move over. We have breaking news that we need to go to immediately. We will be following this tornado warning. You can follow us on our app. And of course, we're going to keep it going at the bottom of our screen. Keith.
Let's get right over to Glenn Hurricane Schwartz and Chief Meteorologist Tammie Souza tracking this warning. Where is it, Glenn? And just how severe are we talking?
Well, we have severe weather all over the place in multiple counties in our region. This lighter red area, that is the area under the tornado warning from Reading down to near Limerick. The deeper red, more maroon color, that's a flash flood warning. There's also a flash flood warning for a part of Bucks County. You know, sometimes those can be life-threatening as well. And just general flood advisories in the areas of the green. That's not as serious as a flash flood warning. Now, from Reading over to Limerick, that is the direction of the storm. So the storm started in western Berks County. They saw rotation west of Reading, and now they extrapolate the box based on the direction and the speed that the storm is moving. Now, they're assuming that it will continue to move at the same speed, along the same path, until further notice, until they either get some confirmation or the signal, the rotation in that storm would start to weaken. Now, we are seeing this area continue to be under the warning. Now, this goes now into the upper portion of Montgomery County and even the farthest north portion of Chester County. But tornadoes are very small, and especially in this part of the country, they tend to be small. They tend not to last a long time. And in the book that Dr. John Neeson and I wrote on the history of the Philadelphia area weather, we took a look and researched tornadoes throughout history. And in Pennsylvania, in our part of Pennsylvania, a tornado would be more likely in Berks County and Chester County than any other part of our area. But even that is still, of course, much, much less than you would get in the states west of the Appalachians. Once again, we're into velocity mode where you have indications of wind going this way and going this way by different colors. So you want to see the red and the green next to each other in what they would call a couplet. This is not a classic looking structure here from what we've seen in tornado history, but this is something that is monitored by the National Weather Service. There's somebody on the radar constantly. They're making calls to the emergency management in Berks County to see if anybody has seen any of this with modern social media. If anybody has taken a picture of this, they would send it in or put it on the web, and people would be able to get that information. The Weather Service would get that information and then relay it over to us. Now you can see where these storms are. They're lining up from north of Harrisburg to the northern suburbs of Philadelphia, all the way toward Trenton. And the problem is that it's not really moving straight to the south or straight to the north.
And so, what we're looking at right now, I don't want to interrupt you. This is a 3D slice of the thunderstorm that is actually just off to the north of where the tornado warning is. And you can see these are fairly tall. These storms are up there about 50,000 feet in the atmosphere. And you can see the intense shades of red. And those actually
up
are
to 30,000.
Right,
yeah.
But then you've got the very tops of the cloud tops and the anvil. And what you're looking at is you're looking at intense rain, and you're looking at perhaps some of the hail core with some of this. And this is just moving through Reading right now. So, you know, the biggest threat of rotation is now heading through Reading, and these are the storms that are moving through there. This is the type of thing that we are watching very, very closely. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bounce this back out just so that you can show people how widespread all of this is across the area.
Right, and the fact that it is moving in the same direction that they are lined up, this is called training, and when you get the red colors, that's extremely heavy rain. Now you have this moving over the same area hour after hour after hour, and that ends up creating perhaps several inches of rain in single spots. So you got different kinds of severe weather at the same time. You have potential tornadoes, we have potential wind damage from other storms, and you also have potential flash flooding. So if you take your eye off the ball and you're looking just up into the cloud for the circulation, you might miss the flood that it is potentially more dangerous.
Here we have
Yeah, look at that.
That's the tornadic storm. Now, that is not a funnel. That is not a funnel coming to the ground. I don't want anybody thinking that. But that just shows you this is like arching over. There's a huge updraft in this storm, and you can actually see that there's a lot of the darker reds where you would have the intense rain and maybe the hail, that hail core up there arching over, because we did see a lot of hail with this.
Right. Normally, even in a thunderstorm, you wouldn't necessarily see this core, this heavy core, go up this far.
No,
so this is an unusually intense storm.
It is an intense storm, and it is staying together. And I know we have Erica Martin looking for any reports anywhere on damage within the path of this tornado warning. We've also had a lot of walnut-sized hail. Walnut-sized hail. Okay, so you got walnut-sized hail out there. That's pretty good. That's larger than an inch, and that's going to hurt. That's why people need to get inside. They could have damage to cars and things, but mostly it's you at home that we're worried about. Now you can see it pulsing out. This is the storm as it's moving in a 3D version.
Golf ball size hail. This would be this blue area is the indication of the hail. If you can erase that sign there, we can show you just where that report of the hail is. There's another one over here. This is in western Chester County. So we don't just want to look at this one particular storm. There are other storms with a similar potential that we have to keep an eye on all at the same time. So we have this cluster of storms with a lot of lightning, with golf ball size hail at least, and also indications of that in western Chester County. And also this is in Montgomery County, just north of Philadelphia. So again, there's more than one potential severe thunderstorm with this. Again, these are reports or estimates of the size of hail based on the reflection, the reflectivity of the radar. So it's sending out a signal into the storm and then getting a signal back.
So what we're looking at, if you flip over to the other radar, we're trying to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, especially with the storm that's moving out of Reading and that is now moving into Limerick. This particular storm is the tornado warning storm. This is the tornado warned storm right here. We're going to go ahead and kind of flip this up on its side, and you can see it now moving through Pottstown. I'll go ahead and turn this off, and this bright color that you see right here, this bright color red, this is the area that we are concerned about right here. This other red that you see, that is a flash flood advisory warning. You also see a severe thunderstorm warning in the bright gold. So we have an awful lot of things going on. We want to be very clear. These are all dangerous storms. Not one of them is less dangerous than the other, but we are focusing on this potential tornado warned storm. This storm has a tornado warning on it, potentially could produce a tornado at any time. So that's something that we are really wanting to focus on very, very clearly. To bounce back out and take a look at the wider angle here, we have a number of warnings moving through the area, a lot of intense lightning. I'm going to turn the lightning off because I think everybody gets it by now. They're probably hearing it. If your house isn't shaking, it will be soon, unless you're out there in Cape May or Atlantic City. Parts of South Jersey have not been affected, but this is the Lehigh Valley, Berks County, the Pennsylvania suburbs for the most part, all the way into Philadelphia, which is now going to start hearing plenty of booming. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to zoom in a little tighter here. Dover, you have a severe thunderstorm warning headed toward you. We'll get to that one in just a moment, but let's take a look at what is moving through the area. This is moving over the same region again and again. It's something known as training, and that means flooding is going to be occurring in some places. This is very heavy rain that's coming down in some areas. Earlier, Glenn, you told me that the rain coming down was coming down at a rate of perhaps as much as 4 inches an hour in some places.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously we have a problem when you have thunderstorms moving that fast or across the same area over and over and over again. Look at this over a 2-hour period, for example, and we'll center it in White Marsh. So you got one storm, you get your downpour, and instead of, hey, that's the end of your rain for the day, you have another giant storm. Now, how big is that storm? How intense is that? Let's take a look at the rainfall. That's up to 3 inches an hour. Around White Marsh, that's close to 2 inches. Near Abington, that's 1 to 2 inches. And Abington was getting hit by a couple of storms just a half hour ago. So this is a totally different storm that has moved in. Now, these are what we call the hail tracks. So the radar is detecting the potential for hail each sweep. And when you put it all together and time goes by, it plots out. So the deeper the blue, the larger the hail would be. Now let's see what happens here as we go in toward Berks County. What we're seeing here is the more intense part near North Heidelberg and Strausstown. Reading is down here.
You know what, Glenn? I'm going to say, let's come back over. Let's take a look at what's going on with our tornado warning. If we can pop back over to Max 2, please, just so we can take a look at it. Right now, what you can see is you can get a good idea. You can see the storm. The storm itself is up here. It's moving just kind of past Pottstown. I'm going to turn off the sweeping radar. That bright red box is where we have the tornado warning. That's where we have the tornado warning. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this this cone in just to give you an idea of who is in there and the timing. We are going to be looking at Birdsboro at 5:50 this evening. The storm is going to be coming right through your area in like right now. It's overhead, so you need to make sure you're indoors and you're in a secure place. We're going to be looking at Pottstown at 6:05, Limerick at 6:19, and Phoenixville at 6:26. This storm does not seem to be losing a lot of intensity. It seems to kind of be regenerating on itself, building on itself, which is not unusual with the humid, hot atmosphere we have out there. And we have this huge storm system, a big disturbance to the west that is just pushing this. So it's providing all the energy that we need. This is the path that it is going in. So again, you need to be indoors. You need to be on the lowest level of your house, away from the windows, because we did mention already that walnut-sized hail that was associated with this. And we definitely don't want anybody getting hit by hail on the head or anything else. In fact, I'm going to turn off the radar. And you can see some of our hail tracks here. We were just talking about those a moment ago. And for the most part, we have seen everywhere from, what was it, golf ball size hail to walnut size, correct, Glenn?
Right.
And you can see some of that. I'm going to go ahead and put the hail tracks into motion for the last hour and loop them. And you can see them moving through a lot of the area. Now, so far.
But also look, it looks like it's weakening as it moves to the east. You're not seeing the deepest blue like you did earlier in the upper left of the screen.
Well, the storm itself is probably losing a little bit of its hail as it moves on, and hail with tornadoes is not unusual. So I'm not surprised to see that that's where we have the most intense returns for hail. That is something that sort of goes hand in hand. And if you were out there in Berks County, you probably saw a greenish gray sky. Now we do have trees snapped and uprooted in Amity Gardens. And that is in Berks County, and that is
at 5:42.
At 5:42, and that's what we're going to be looking at as this storm, any of these storms, not just this one, moves through. But this particular storm was the most intense. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put this back on a wider view here, just so that everybody will see what's going on with these storms. Get that lightning off, and let's go ahead and take a look at where they're going. So if you are anywhere from Reading to Trenton out to Long Beach, you are going to be looking at potentially dangerous storms moving overhead. And again, as Glenn pointed out earlier, we've been telling you these are moving over the same spot. They are moving virtually on an east-southeast over the same spot. So what does that mean? That means heavy flooding. That means you're continuing to get the wind gusts, and you're going to continue to be in the path of these very, very severe storms. let me turn off the sweeping radar so you can see where the watch boxes and the warning boxes are. These are the warning boxes. We have the deep magenta red, the deep burgundy red. That is for the flash flooding. So we see that near Trenton and, of course, up there in Berks County and into the Lehigh Valley. We're also looking at the gold, which are severe thunderstorm warnings, and that is from central Montgomery County and into central Bucks County. And of course we're looking for the tornado warning, and that is until 6:15. So this tornado warning is something that we're keeping a very, very close eye on until 6:15, but it has been extended again and again. Let's go back up to our tornado warned area. Glenn, do you want to hop into the weather monitor there so we can kind of show people what perhaps is going on? Let's get up there.
All right.
And let's turn this, clear this off here, and you can kind of go over some of what's going on.
All right. This is the outline of Berks County. And of course, Reading, the biggest town in Berks County. Pottstown is outside of Berks County. Now, we've got Berks and Montgomery and Chester counties coming together in right this area. So when they put out the tornado warning and it's going in this direction, you have to include all three counties in the official warning, even though it is a tiny piece of Chester County and a tiny piece of Montgomery County that is in the warning. There's just no other way to communicate that at this point. Now we're continuing to track this storm. One of the storms, of course, you can see there are many of them. 610 to West Pottsgrove, 613 at Pottstown, 619 Sanatoga, 627 in Limerick, and 634 in Phoenixville. Now, all of these areas have already been hit by some heavy thunderstorms with some strong gusty winds, very heavy rain, a good bit of lightning. But can we turn on the lightning again, Tammie, for this particular one? All right, I like to look for concentrations of lightning. And if you were looking a little while ago, like a half hour ago, there was much more lightning with this cell that is coming across Berks County. The darker lightning bolts, those are the older lightning strikes. The bright ones are the newest ones, so that we can get an idea of how the lightning has changed.
The tornado warning has just been allowed to expire, Glenn. Which means that storm has probably lost some of the rotation associated with the tornado. However, the severe thunderstorm warnings do continue, and we do have a lot of concern with them because any of them could, of course, produce a tornado warning, but they could be producing some damaging winds. So we're going to go ahead now. We're going to move over from the magenta boxes, which are flood boxes. We're going to focus on what's going on here from Montgomery County and into Bucks County, because we have this severe thunderstorm warning that is moving there. Let's put up Max 2 if we can, and it's the storm that is now moving right on through Abington, and it's headed toward Trenton. So you see that one right there, Glenn?
Right. This.
Exactly. And I'll turn this off so then you can see exactly where we have the severe thunderstorm warning that's going on with all of this.
Now this is interesting because you see the way this box is oriented? This one suggests that the storm is moving in this direction, moving more to the northeast. When we had the warning in Berks County, it was moving more toward the southeast.
Well, yeah, and you can see right here, it's the storm that's over Worcester and Hatfield, Maple Glen, Warrington, Norristown.
And there's Abington down here. Remember, that's already been hit twice by different storms. The last one that hit Abington is now crossing into New Jersey. And once we've gotten, let's say, past the tornado warning, we still have at least a half dozen intense cells here in the same general area north of Philadelphia, and generally moving west to east, meaning that the whole system is not, at least not yet, coming down toward Philadelphia or Delaware or the Jersey Shore. That's good for them, but farther to the north, these areas just keep getting hit over and over and over again, and we'll keep following that. Keith?